Thanks for staying with us. Time to turn our attention to bowls. This guest, a bit of a surprise. Nick Xenophon, of course, I should say, Senator Nick is in with us. He's the bowls ambassador. Nick, thanks for taking some time coming in.
Absolute pleasure.
Mate, the bowls ambassador.
You're just like Lee Sales in the 7:30 report.
Oh, you're a good bloke. I don't care what they say, mate. Bowls ambassador, how'd you get that role?
Look, I've always wanted to be an ambassador. This is probably the only diplomatic position any government will give me. No, but it's an absolute pleasure. Bowls SA came to see me about a problem they had about a court case. They were tied up with an equal opportunities court case about an open gender competition, or they fixed up the problem since then. But it had cost Bowls SA something like $200,000, which is not the fault of the person that made the complaint. They had a legitimate reason about having an open gender competition. They played by the rules, but the system got to them in the sense that they spent so much money. So I wrote an opinion piece for the Sunday Mail a couple of years ago, which for some reason managed to go around the country like wildfire because it struck a chord. I thought it was a crackerjack piece.
It was a crackerjack piece. I actually read it. So just so the viewers know, a lady, and fully correct in the way she went about it, 6 years ago she wanted to play in the men's competition. Yeah. So they said, well, no, you can't. So she went to the equal opportunity, and then a can of worms opened. Yeah, it
wasn't the woman's fault. No. She was perfectly entitled to, and it was a good thing. I mean, the outcome was good in that there's now an open gender competition, but the legal cost and the legal process was an absolute killer. I mean, in this country we have a legal system, not a justice system, because it was such a messy process. But at the end of the day, all's well that ends well. The law was changed to there were changes, and as a result of that, it's the most inclusive sport. I mean, you can play it from the ages of 9 to 90. It's a sport that doesn't discriminate because they actually have there's special devices for amputees. There's a blind bowls competition. I mean, it's so tremendous as to how inclusive it is.
You know, and you mentioned
and even I can play it.
Well, you can. We've actually got some footage of him being inclusive. You don't want to see the footage?
He could be anything. I mean, Olympics aren't out of the question. But if and we look at you sending a bowl down now. I mean,
look, talk about inclusive.
Well, look, you look at the aim of getting the bowl as close to the jack, the white ball, as possible, and it didn't stop too far apart. It ran out of vision, and it did go. I mean, it went onto the freeway, but it did stop not long after that. That was very good.
By a truck.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I'm a sports tragic. Tragically, I know nothing about sport.
About sport, you don't?
No, not really.
Well, you're getting interviewed by the right blokes then. We don't either.
You do.
You know what? You mentioned that article you wrote and the response it had, and I think that probably reflects just how inclusive the sport is, because people can relate to it, and so many people we have at this desk, Nick, that you wouldn't have thought are bowls people. The most famous sporting names in this state.
Barry
really.
Robran, Grenfell Dietrichs.
Well, Grenfell was here last week, and
he looks like he swallowed a couple of bowls.
He looks like he's a champion bloke.
Great bloke.
Do you get a chance, even though I guess your passion is politics, obviously, but do you get a chance to relax with any watching sport or bowls or whatever it might be?
Well, can I tell you, I didn't watch The Killing Season because that's political porn. I didn't watch that. I asked for the question time. That's bad enough. Or The Killing Fields or Killing Season, whatever it was called. Yeah. I like bushwalking. That's
really?
But when I get a chance to, but which is like never at the moment. But bowls, I can imagine, I actually found it quite relaxing. Yeah. Although you're not supposed to hear kitty, kitty, kitty.
No, you're not.
Nick, I'm interested, the coaches in our field talk about pressure. The clubs talk about the pressure. And we do, because we're in an open forum. The scoreboard's there, the results up straight away. Your business, and I've seen you guys, the massive amount of work that you do. The pressure, how do you deflect it? How do you deal with it when it's building?
You just endure it, You just, I don't know, I don't think about it, because I think about it, I'll probably freeze up, but you just do it. Like a famous sportswear piece of a sports shoe. I don't know, you've got the workload, and I guess federally, if you want to make an ass of yourself, pretty quickly you can if you say the wrong thing. I think Peter Costello said that every politician's only one bad quote away from oblivion. Yep. So I'm sure I've come close.
Oh, with the coach is only one game away from a loss.
Yeah, yeah. I actually sat next to Nick on a plane. It was about a year ago now, but Nick, I don't know
what was I doing?
No, you sat down and you continued to work. So for those people that are spending money, we complain sometimes.
I was in economy. Can you let people know? I was
you were in economy, but I was still behind you in economy.
In business class.
But you were working flat out. When is your downtime? We were talking about you writing articles
at my funeral.
Early in the morning. Is that it?
At my funeral. That was my downtime. That bowls article, I remember writing it because it just couldn't flow, and I got up at 5 o'clock one morning. So over the Weet-Bix, I just pumped it out in half an hour. It finally sort of came to me.
Yeah.
It's a pretty impressive article to say that. I'm interested. The other component is sleep deprivation. I watch you guys function with sleep deprivation. You talk to athletes and they can't. They have to sleep. Everything's done for them. How do you mentally deal
Depends.
with that?
I mean, Parliament was sitting, had a 2-week session, it's pretty full on, and we'd finish pretty late, and usually the mind's still buzzing for an hour or two afterwards. So, I don't know, you try and catch up on the weekend. I might sleep until 7 o'clock one morning. Is that too late?
No.
I'm trying to get a gem from you in that athletes when they play or coaches when they coach, it's the same thing. After a game, they can't unwind. There is that 2 or 3 hours where the mind's still going, the adrenaline's still pumping. Same for you. Is there a trick that you've got? I mean, is it bushwalking?
Yeah,
just hard to do at midnight.
There's too many roos in Canberra. They'll get mugged by a Big Red. They're pretty mean. They're Big Red. What I do last couple of weeks, I was reading a Pulp Fiction crime thriller, which was good, Okay. It was about a serial killer. For some reason, it seemed to be
just to
appropriate
relax.
to do at the end of the night. But it seemed to sort of, something completely different.
I think you're the champion of the champion of the average bloke, and I think that's something to be really proud of. But is there something?
Includes women. You're being inclusive.
Exactly. And I do mean that. But is there something that you're most proud of, an achievement so far?
Well, someone asked me that the other day, and back in 2005, I managed to get the law changed. I put up legislation to change law for asbestos victims, because I'm patron of the Asbestos Victims Association. There was a young woman called Melissa Haylock, wonderful woman, her family.
Yes, I know Melissa. Is it Gary's?
Yeah, Gary, and
I
her
played
3
with Gary.
great kids, and fantastic family. And we need to change the law because the law was pretty miserable for victims of asbestos. And the law was changed back at the end of 2005. There was one occasion when I nearly lost it and nearly got weepy in Parliament. It was then when the law was changed that Labor, Liberal got together. I know I upset the government at the time because we rushed it through, but it was going to become an election issue. But everybody, it was a day when pollies all did the right thing, and Melissa passed away sadly. But at least there was a little bit of justice for her at the end of the day.
I'm just listening, mate. Bowls ambassador. I like Pulp Fiction, Killing Fields. It just doesn't seem to marry up. I'm trying to work out how you work that.
I don't know. You're
just going with the flow.
I just go with the flow. I figure, what was it? I went to a Methodist school and I'm a Greek Orthodox kid. That really screwed me up.
Well, the door's open now, isn't it, really?
That already messed me up, I think.
In the future, I know we're just about ready to go, but in the future, how do you see the political landscape settling?
I don't think it's going to settle. I think it's going to be really messy. I think we could have an election before the end of the year, more likely early next year, but it's really toxic. That sort of bipartisanship there used to be a number of years ago when pollies would sort of sit down at the end of a day of arguing with each other and be civil. It's pretty aggro now. It's pretty bad, and it's bad for the country.
Yeah, well, it is time for us to go. Nick Xenophon, the Bowls ambassador, was our special guest, and he is.
You can call me Your Excellency if you want.
His Excellency is not too far away.
It won't be long.
His Excellency, Nick Xenophon, is in the studio with us, and you heard it first on Channel 44. Time for us to go to a break. Back with more in a moment.